You know how whenever there's an action camera, a new action camera that drops, people will think, okay, this is the one that is actually going to level up my content. This is the one that is going to make me want to film. But just like all the other cameras that they've already bought, it becomes a nice ornament on a shelf until the next year where they have the same thought and that same camera also becomes a nice ornament on the shelf. Now, most updates in cameras barely change how you create. Sometimes there are features that actually help, but sometimes the upgrades aren't necessarily worth it if you bought the camera the previous year. But with the Osmo Action 6, it actually has a new feature that made me think, yeah, all right, hold my biscuits. That might be worthwhile. Now, I'm not going to bullshit you. I always tell you the truth, and even with this feature, there is something about it that I don't like, which I'll get onto. It's a feature that might not necessarily matter to a lot of you if you don't cross-post across different platforms. It's basically to do with the square sensor and the fact that you can now film in a square and then you can crop the footage later to be either vertical, horizontal, a square, or what's the weird one for Instagram now when you do a post? 4x5. So that, because I cross-post across Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, my fingers are all wrinkly because it's been raining so much. Because I cross-post, this feature is actually incredibly useful because whenever I've used my Osmo Action 5 or the Action 4, I've been torn between whether I do it as a vertical or whether I do it as a horizontal, and most of the time I mainly do it as a horizontal video, and I just hold the camera out a little bit further and then I just crop in and do it that way, or I use my Osmo 360. But at times where you don't want to use a 360 camera, having the Osmo Action 6 and shooting, it's called custom 4K I think, shooting in that, it's so loud and I feel like I'm really shouting. Shooting in that is actually going to be really beneficial. I really should have been recording with the mic actually recording internally to the mic because I feel like this is actually really clipping. So I might have to do this bit again. I really should have checked my settings before filming this first part of the video because I didn't have any of my mic settings set correctly. So if I had had adaptive gain control on, that probably would have eliminated the clipping. But also I didn't even have audio, what's it called? The one where it starts recording on the mic as soon as you hit record on the camera. I didn't have that on, so it wasn't obviously recording the audio into the microphone, because then I could have just used that 32-bit float audio file and synced it up with the audio, and then I would have had clean audio that hadn't been clipping. But there you go. I just completely spaced. I just didn't even check my settings. But anyway, seeing as I'm talking about audio, I'll let you hear what the audio sounds like when I wasn't using this mic 3, because obviously it was raining loads and water got into the microphones in the camera. So I'll let you hear it, and then I'll let you hear what it sounds like when I switch to the mic 3. Listen to that rain, it's really coming down. I don't have my mic connected, so I don't know how well you can hear me, but I guess it gives you an idea of, if you didn't have a mic with you and it was pissing it down like this, how much you'd actually be able to hear. Because yeah, it was really coming down now. You know what, let me just put my mic on so that you can hear the difference very quickly, because I'm not outside at the moment, so the mic won't get wet. Okay, so this is now what the audio sounds like with the mic connected, and it should sound a lot better and a lot clearer. Also, a little quick tip, if you do film in the rain and you want to make sure that the audio can sound as good as possible, then give the camera a shake to get the water out of the microphones, and that will stop it from having that muffled sound. The water will still keep getting in there, obviously, but if you just keep remembering to shake it whenever you can, then it'll help a little bit. And it's something I just completely forgot to do. Okay, so I was going to film this scooter bit with the Action 6, but you know when you're just using cameras for their intended purpose, I feel like a 360 camera is perfect for this kind of thing, so I actually used the DJI Osmo 360 instead. It just comes down to using the right tool for the right job, and yes, I could have used the Action 6 for this, but I have the Osmo 360 and it just made much more sense. Just parked up the bikes and we are headed to a waterfall up this way. I think it's about a 5-minute walk, and apparently you can also swim at the top as well. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to bring I feel like my audio might be clipping. Let me just stop and restart it and just turn the gain down because it's in the orange bit. Alright, so I turned it down to -4 decibels, so it's still a little bit in the orange, but it's not clipping, so I'm going to leave it at that and just see how it sounds. But I'm basically shooting in the custom 4K mode, which means I'm using the whole square of the sensor, so that I can then crop into either vertical or horizontal, or what's it, 4x5 for an Instagram post. Here's the first waterfall. This place is amazing. Look at that waterfall. So I'll tell you in the next video. So I'm going to do a full video about the Pocket 3 and why I stopped using it for vlogging. But this is one of the reasons. It was really nice when we left. It was really sunny. It was really warm. I mean, it's still warm. It's not really cold. But if I'd had the Pocket 3, I wouldn't have been able to keep filming like I am now. So having something like an action camera just makes complete sense. I have no idea if you can hear me because it's loud with the waterfall, obviously. But I was just going to say, obviously it's raining quite a lot and I don't have my microphone because I don't want it to get damaged. But I was just filming with the Action 6, and because of where I am, I actually just wanted to use the 360 camera. I was like, I feel like I should be using the 360 camera so that I can get everything and then I can just pick what I want later when I start to edit the footage. And so, yeah, I think it's in these situations where having a 360 camera is so much more beneficial than having just your traditional action camera, because I can literally just hold it up and then I can figure out later on where I want to point the camera. And if I'm talking about something, I can just hold the camera out, say I'm talking about this waterfall, I don't need to move the camera, I can just reframe it to look at the waterfall, and then I can say, hey, look at these rocks over here. I can just reframe it so that you can see the rocks. But like I said, I have no idea if you can hear what I'm saying anyway, because it's so loud and I feel like I'm shouting as well. And now I have to try and get down without falling on my arse. I was saving my raincoat for when we were going back on the bike, which is why I was just standing there, just in my vest, you know. But my feet are absolutely drenched. Okay, so there's another feature which is going to be pretty awesome for you if you film in low light. So if you film at night or you film indoors and you walk around a lot and you don't want to have those micro jitters in your footage, because the Osmo Action 6 now has a variable aperture lens, it means that if you set that to auto and you're filming in low light, so I'm in super night at the moment, you're not going to be able to see it whilst I'm sitting here, but I've got some footage where I'm walking around. If you set it to auto, the camera will prioritize the aperture before it prioritizes the shutter speed, or before it drops the shutter speed, because usually what happens is when you set it to auto, the camera is going to bump up the ISO all the way to the max that it can first, and then it will drop the shutter speed afterwards. And if your shutter speed drops below, let's say 100th of a second, that's when you start to get like those little micro jitters in your footage. And with the f2.0 aperture, it means that that is always going to be a priority. And so you're going to have better low light image quality, and honestly it does look much better if you compare it to the Action 5 Pro, which I do in my next video, so it's well worth watching that. I'm not putting it in this video, but if you compare it to that footage, it's such a difference. So check it out if you want to see that in the other video. So obviously it is like pitch black, it is night, but as I'm walking around you can see that the footage is very smooth, and I just have this all on auto settings at the moment. It's in super night mode, auto settings, and the footage just looks really good in low light. Considering it's an action camera, it looks very good. So it means that you don't even need a gimbal. Okay, this is now just the regular video, so not super night mode, but just like the regular video mode that you would have. And it still looks like it's looking pretty decent as well. The quality looks decent. Yeah. But again, there's lots of lights, so. So there's also another scenario where using f2.0 is very useful, and that's with the new macro lens. I just installed the macro lens because, hang on, let me just check my audio levels before I do this. Given what happened yesterday, I didn't want my audio levels to be clipping, so I just turned it all the way down to minus 12 decibels. But anyway, I just installed the macro lens, and I wanted to see what it was like if you were doing a talking head, to see how much closer you can get and if it actually blurs out a little bit of the background. So this is what I can't see. I can't tell much on the tiny little screen, so I'll have a look when I get to my computer, but I don't know, what do you think? Does it make a difference? Let's do it on this sign here. So looking at the background, when you are close to a subject and then the background is far off in the distance, there is some shallow depth of field there in comparison to it to not having the macro lens on. But I'm just finding it really difficult to see myself in this little screen to know whether it's made a difference for this. We'll see. I also forgot to say that I have my aperture in f2.0. I've currently got the macro lens attached because I want to just keep trying it in different scenarios to see if, also in f2.0, to see if there's any difference between me and the background. So if the background is a little bit shallower than what it would normally be, maybe I have to get a little bit closer. I can't see in the screen, so again, when I get back to my laptop I'll be able to see. But you can see now. Does it look any shallower in the background there? I don't know. So you know at the beginning of the video how I said that there was something that I didn't quite like about the camera? I got to be honest with you, I got to come clean. I generally tend to do that in my intros because when I'm testing something, there is usually something that I don't like and something that I'm just like, I wish they'd done this. At the moment, I'm clutching at straws. I can't think of anything in the Action 6 that I genuinely don't like that would either be a deal breaker for you or for me. And I do it in my intros because, you know, I get through the video and like I said, there's usually something, but I can't think of anything at the moment. I genuinely can't. The only thing, like I said, if I am clutching at straws, is that there is still no cancel recording whilst you're recording. That's the only thing I can think of, because I was just doing a few clips here and I was like, oh, let me do that again, and I just had to stop recording and then go and delete them so that when I get back to my room, I'm not looking through all these clips that I know that I'm not going to use anyway. So that is the only thing that I can think of right now. And maybe as I use it more, I've been using it for the past few weeks, but there's still nothing that I can honestly say has been a hindrance for me whilst I've been using it, especially on this trip as well, because I've been using it a lot on this trip. So yeah, sorry to break it to you, but yeah, there isn't anything. Oh god, my bum is so numb. I've been sitting here for a little while. I had a really bad feeling then that I hadn't closed my bag, and I was going to look down and see everything had just fallen out. That would not be good. So like I said earlier, if you want to see the comparison between the Osmo Action 5 Pro and the Osmo Action 6, then check out my next video, because I go into a lot more detail about the details of the Action 6 in comparison to the Action 5. I also have a video where I talk about the main features and specs of the Action 6 as well. So again, if you want more detail about the camera itself, rather than just an experience video, which this one has been, then it's well worth checking that out also. If you do pick up the camera, remember, go out and shoot something. And if you're struggling, then just come join my 30-day challenge. I say this in every video because honestly, some of you need to hear it a lot. So if you're struggling and you need some help and support and some accountability as well to actually follow through. Oh, my room's still being done. Let me go and sit in the bar for a bit. Some accountability, then yeah, come and join the challenge. 1 video a day for 30 days, short videos. You can start the first one right now as soon as you sign up, and it'll take you less than 30 minutes. The community is very supportive and friendly as well, so you're not going to be doing it alone. And there will probably be people starting today just like you, so you'll have a few day one buddies. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.